In touch with the ground, I'm on the hunt, I'm after you. A sin and a sound, I'm lost and I'm found, and I'm hungry like the wolf.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know this gentleman from the lead role. Well, I keep saying Commissioner Gordon, but you're not there yet. Detective Gordon from the show Gotham on Fox. Please welcome Ben McKenzie. Ben, how are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
I am very excited for season 2.
Thank you.
A lot of creepiness.
Yes.
Since San Diego Comic-Con, when everything started to unroll with little teasers into full trailers, I see the big trend now is taking very popular songs and making them as creepy as possible to use for the trailer.
Right.
What got me was when they showed the very first trailer, was they used Duran Duran's Hungry Like the Wolf in probably one of the more gothic style of song that I've ever heard. I'm like, I was just doing something else I didn't know was on.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, that's Hungry Like the Wolf. And
Yeah.
I turn around and I'm like, oh my God, it's Gotham.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
watching the trailer for season 2 here. Rise of the Villains.
Yeah.
It seems to be the big theme here.
Yes, it is. They do use great music on the show, don't they? The theme is Rise of the Villains, and what we're doing this season is slightly different than what we did last season. We're really leaning into the serialization of the stories. So it's not about a crime of the week, like introducing a villain and then killing that villain within an episode. We are letting these villains live, breathe, develop, fester,
run
if you
amok.
will, run amok, create havoc in a city. And so I think it's a much richer, more satisfying experience. I'm really proud of this season of the show. I think we just sent out some episodes for the critics to take a sneak peek at.
And actually, I wanted to point on that, too, if we could, because some of the critics of and bigger publications, one of them being Hollywood Reporter, I'll say, it's already putting out stuff that's happening in the first episode. And you're like,
oh, no. Are they?
Yeah. Like,
well, don't read the Hollywood Reporter.
Don't read anything. But one of the things I got to ask you about is they start off with, the trailers show that the Joker's coming, and they show that the Penguin's in power, and the development of Edward Nygma, could become the Riddler at any point now because he's losing his mind.
Exactly.
But they focus on you saying that you're fired.
Yeah.
So it starts off with a big bang. Not even before the villains are taken in. It's just like, this guy who was the hero by the end of season 1 is now getting, I'll try to keep it clean. We don't have to, but, is getting all the crap thrown at him.
Exactly.
And being shown the door.
He's getting screwed. I mean, he's, in the category of no good deed goes unpunished. Of course, at the end of season 1, when Jim basically saved Falcone's life.
Right.
And saved the city from anarchy, and Falcone at the end of that deputized Jim to be the new leader.
Which is great that a mob boss is deputizing a law enforcement official as you're going to run the city.
Exactly, which is creepy, right?
Yeah,
Super
that
creepy.
never happens.
Yeah, and hands him the knife, that he's kept in his pocket for all these years and says, you're going to need this.
Real quick, was that knife, because he told the story about your father being the most honorable man he ever knew.
Right.
But he always carried a knife.
Exactly.
Was it the same knife, or was he just telling the story? Because that part I got a little lost in. That is the knife.
The knife, the idea is that Jim, who has always believed his father was this saint, was this, Jim's father was this revered district attorney back when Gotham was not the sort of anarchic place that it's become. And Jim, his father died tragically in front of him. That's what bonded Jim to Bruce, in the pilot of the series. And Jim came back to Gotham has come back to Gotham as an adult to take on his father's mantle, to clean up the city and be the man that he thought his father was. It turns out his father had relationships with people like Carmine Falcone, the big mob boss. It turns out his father may not have been the man that he thought he was.
He was more realistic than he was a saint.
Yeah, well, he was pragmatic, and that's one of the stories we're telling in the series. So, you were getting back to your original point. You're seeing a lot of things being thrown out here, and one of them is that Jim, when we meet him in season 2, is at a real low point, and he has to get his job back somehow, and he doesn't have a lot of options. So that leads him to one of his few friends in Gotham.
That's one of the things when you know the history of a universe so well that I guess unless for really older people or younger people that don't know anything about Batman are the only ones that can actually be surprised and oh my God moments for the way things happen. not knowing where you initially end up, because people know you're going to be Commissioner Gordon at some point. So you being fired normally would be like the cliffhanger or the big oh wow moment for a season finale. But this starting off the first episode with this, and then it's going to be a whole building process for you. I'm guessing.
Absolutely. And I mean, we also got to look. I understand. We got a lot of criticism early on with people saying, "Well, wait a minute. We know the ending. We know that Bruce becomes Batman and Jim becomes Commissioner. So why are we? What's the suspense?"
Right.
And I have a couple rebuttals to that. The first is
it's a television show.
But like you don't even need to go to television. The point that the idea that just because you know the ending, you're not interested in the journey,
right,
is ridiculous. Did you watch the movie Apollo 13? They live.
Yeah.
Did you watch and go back to say
what happened to Titanic?
Yeah, exactly. I think the boat sinks. I've actually never seen Titanic. Actually, the movie.
Spoiler: the boat sinks.
Damn it! Why did you got to tell me that? But we are dealing with that sort of criticism. But the rebuttal to that is, look, watch the show. Are you entertained? Do you find it? Does it surprise you?
Right.
Because we're able to do so much. We're able to pull so many surprises because people know these characters, right? Or think they know these characters. They do not know this chapter of their lives. They do not. They have never seen on screen, to my knowledge, in a non-animated way, who Oswald Cobblepot was when he was a little henchman, who Bruce Wayne was when he was a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah, you're going really, really
way back.
Prequel. Yeah,
we're going to the beginnings. Before Bruce Wayne's parents are killed in that alley, effectively there is no reason to even have a story, right? We were all...
And depending which series you're reading, like from the comics or the movies that you're following, it was a different person who shot his parents, depending on which universe you're following.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that we've had to deal with is people take ownership over the series and or over the world, and we're glad that they do it. They have very strong opinions, but the truth is, if you go back to the comics, there are conflicting versions of this story in almost every comic. Every comic conflicts with another in some way, substantive way. And that's because every artist that has interpreted this sort of mythology over the 75 years it's been around does it as he or she sees fit. They have to reinterpret these myths. That's what they do. When Frank Miller made Year One, when he wrote Year One, he changed the game. But subsequent to that, different people have changed it again and again and again, and that's the way it works.
One of the you said about the criticism and that you were going to address, and I have to be a little forthright here with you.
Sure, please.
I found myself getting into what a lot of the fans did with Gotham. I watched it. I was maybe 5-6 episodes in. Yeah. And then I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. I punched out.
Okay.
Now, I came back to it, I took some time and I rethought about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start it again and see if I can go in with a different mindset. And what I realized is a lot of people, like you said, were complaining that how it ends. He becomes Batman. You become the commissioner and the Joker and everything else. But I think people misinterpreted that being annoyed with this, that everything, is more that it's more you're anxious. So I realized I'm like, I wanted to get to that point, but I know there's a long long road ahead here for the story development and the character development. And I'm like, all right, I know where it's going, but I don't know this journey, so I'm going to slow down and just relax with it. And I found out I enjoyed this series more by that mindset, by restarting it again.
Got it.
And getting through season 1. I think when I saw a lot of internet complaints and people, because everybody just complains.
Sure.
But I think people were more anxious and not realizing it to see Batman, to see the Joker, to see everything. Yeah. When they started season 1, they said, you're not going to see the Joker. You're not going to see Batman. Bruce is what, 10, 11 in the show?
12,
somewhere
13,
around there?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. So you've got years before he even starts his training and all this stuff.
And I think what we did a poor job of, and so I understand people's frustration, what we did a poor job of is setting up the expectations of what the series is going to be. And we also did, I think, we didn't do as good a job as we should have in terms of actually telling the story. And what is interesting about this story is the world, the serialized world of these characters growing and progressing. It is not the crime of the week stuff.
Right.
And we started making those episodes, and look, between you and me and the internet and the world, I argued vociferously against it, but I did not win that.
It was almost Gotham Law and Order
And it should
week.
never have been.
Right.
If you watch the pilot of the series, which I'm very proud of, that would have led you to believe it was a fully serialized show. We were exploring a brand new world in a really rich, deep, complicated way. And then all of a sudden we started doing Case of the Week stuff. We're not doing any more Case of the Week stuff. It's gone. It's done. It's never coming back. So I think if you watch this season, what you're going to notice and hopefully what you're going to focus on is how interesting this world is, how interesting these characters are, how exciting it is. And you're going to forget, this is our challenge, hopefully, you'll forget that, Bruce isn't going to become Batman for a while. Because hopefully, if we're doing our job, you're entertained.
Right.
And the Bruce becoming Batman stuff is down the line and you'll be okay with it. I think I understand where you're coming from completely. I really do. I too got frustrated at the show sometimes when we were dealing with some secondary, tertiary, possibly even made up character villain in an episode, a one-off episode, and people were like, I don't care about the Balloon Man or whatever thing.
Yeah, if it was more of I guess for industry speak, that if it was more of a B to C story with those little minor characters here and there, that I got to stop the main case, got to go deal with that, then you come back to that. I think people would have been a little bit more forgiving, or like, okay, I get they have to, because they're cops. Other things are happening besides the main villain in that town.
Sure.
But yeah, like I said, I went back with a different mindset and started all over again, and then I got to enjoy it on a different level when I changed the way I was viewing it. Okay. So I'm like, all right, I'm not waiting for Batman. I'm not waiting for you to become commissioner. Right. I want to see. I started wanting to see more about the mob families, and see how that built into what it did. And then at the finale for season 1, it did. It all came to a head. Right. One of the bosses is dead. The other one, like you said, passed the torch to Falcone. Passed the torch to, which still amazes me as an amazing moment in television, that a crime boss tapped a law enforcement official saying, "You're running the town now." Yeah. So it's almost like the cops are part of the mafia, even though they're supposed to not.
Exactly.
Be their own,
and if I could take a little credit, I had that idea. I did.
All the credit goes to Ben.
I'm just saying we had the finale and it wasn't quite landing. We had the themes were there, and I just, Bruno and I were talking. I said, Bruno, what if he knighted me? What if he?
That's pretty much what he. That's exactly what he did. By handing you the knife, is the equivalent of in those days handing the sword. Touching you on the shoulders. This is yours. The king is stepping down.
And what greater irony than the mafioso turning to the lawman and saying, "You should run this town."
I was just waiting for him to say, "I'm going to Florida."
Exactly.
I'm just going down to Miami. Deal with Gotham. Send me some bagels.
We haven't shot that scene yet, but I do keep waiting for the cutaway to Falcone.
On a beach somewhere,
Coral Gables, sitting with a Mai Tai and some sunscreen on.
Now there was a lot of action in the last 10 minutes of the finale, which is where everything was going on. You saw Selena Kyle go more towards the evil side, where she joined up with Fish's group, and then when that went to kaput in the warehouse there real quick, she took off and ran. So we don't know what's going on with her yet. We don't know what happened to Fish. She disappeared. We don't know if she's dead or not. The Penguin is now, I guess, the official, unofficial crime boss of Gotham.
Yes.
You're now tapped as the supposed law and order for Gotham.
Right.
And now with the rise of the villains for season 2, we started to see at the end of season 1, Edward Nygma starting to really lose his mind.
Yes.
And starting to get upset at himself because he's purposely leaving clues so people will notice him.
Yes.
So in the trailer for season 2, he's going crazy, which we know eventually he'll be the Riddler at some point, but we may just see his slow descent into madness through season 2. So we don't know. I'm not even going to ask you because you're giving me that look saying I'm not going to ask you. I know you're going to ask me. And then the Joker was puzzling because I was at San Diego Comic-Con, and then he kind of walks out on stage all nonchalant and like, "Oh, this is the Joker," and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" And they go crazy and everything. And so in this first season, they had purposely said that there wasn't going to be any ties to the Joker, at least anytime soon. Was this a forced decision because of the reception of season 1 that we got to put the Joker in there or people are not going to hang for season 2?
I wouldn't say it was forced. It wasn't a panic.
Rushed.
I would say we rushed. I think what we realized again, look, a show this big with this sort of like many moving pieces is kind of like an oil tanker. And once it's left port, you can only adjust its trajectory by like 5 degrees at any given point, or the whole thing sort of like falls over and collapses. So what we realized midway through the season, what the producers realized certainly, is that we needed to get away from this case of the week stuff and get back to the iconic people, the iconic characters, including the villains, including the most iconic villain, the Joker, in the show. But how can we do that? Technically, in the lore of, DC and the world of Batman, the Joker himself, the actual Joker, cannot exist until Batman throws acid on his face. That is actually when the Joker persona is created. So what you have the spirit of the Joker. You have people who could be the Joker, who might lose their lives or might go away. But what you have is this malevolent, perverse psychology that starts to infect the city in the form of this proto-Joker who is our Jerome in this case. And so we established him early on in a kind of what you thought might be a one-off in the first season. He's not a one-off. He's coming back,
right,
and he's wreaking havoc. But I don't want to give people the wrong idea that one of the things that DC holds very dear is that, Bruce Wayne can't suddenly become Batman at age 13,
right?
And the Joker can't suddenly, appear out of nowhere. In the mythology, he has to have been created by Batman, and we are not, we are not technically telling the story of Batman. We're telling the story of everything that led up to the creation of Batman.
Right?
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, it's awesome. Just trust me that this Cameron Monaghan, the actor who plays our proto Joker, is unbelievable. He's prominently featured in the season, and I think people are going to be very happy.
Well, I have a question involving Cameron with him being the choice for the Joker. When they were leading up to this, during the end of season 1, going into season 2, you're shooting everything.
Right.
Was there any thought that they might try to incorporate somebody to be the Joker that would transcend the TV show into any of the movies, like to keep it all consistent? Because there's a different Joker. It's Jared Leto in the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
Cameron for Gotham here.
Yes.
And then they're going to be redoing the movies again.
Right.
And I'm sure that'll be a different Joker.
Right.
Was there any thought at least on the set, or were the writers thinking maybe we'd use Jared Leto as pre-Joker to keep it consistent throughout the universe?
I'm not aware of those conversations. I think what's happening is that the diversity of the sort of the way that these worlds, it's sort of the same world overall, but then the interpretations are wildly different. Like Suicide Squad's obviously very specific look at this world, and Gotham is a very specific and older version of this world in the sense that it's an origin story. So you're going back, whatever it would be, 20, 30 years before the events of Batman would take place, or at least a decade before Batman would even start. The net result is they live in their own separate little universes. Because to try to if you try to put Jared Leto in our show, you'd have to age him down, 10, 20 years, which would be pretty difficult, if not impossible. And are you sure that that's the story you're telling? So long way of saying no, I don't think that was really a serious discussion. I think that what Warner Brothers and DC are trying to do is let each telling of this story by the talented artists, whoever they may be, who are telling each other, give them free reign to interpret it for themselves. Don't try to. What Marvel's doing with all the crossover stuff is pretty amazing, and I can't say that it's not a great way.
And that's a lot of work to keep everything so consistent.
Yeah, but what we're doing, we're telling an origin story, is sort of purposefully breaking from the quote-unquote modern-day versions of the story. Like, we are decidedly not in the Chris Nolan world of Batman, clearly. Like, if you look at the show, both the production design and the sort of, the old school, like, TVs and phones and cars and everything we drive and the clothing and everything, from a visual standpoint, as well as from a literal, like, we shoot it differently. We shoot it like an old school movie almost. We shoot it, it's much more composed. It's much more sort of pretty and kind of, it looks like a noirish kind of a story.
No, it's great because
purpose.
a lot of the stuff, because it's a dark, gritty city. So It's very dark a lot of the times. Raining, which is another industry technique of really making things spooky, make it dark and raining.
Yeah.
But when you do show color, it's very vivid.
Yes.
I don't know if it's methane in the air when it's green and pink and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes when they do the wider shots and you're seeing those like really powerful, vivid colors in the sky, it almost reminds me. Do you remember The Mask, Jim Carrey?
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
Right, when he was going into one of the areas, there was a methane lab or something like that. But the skies were very vivid, and I'm seeing the same thing with Gotham here. That's the only comparison I'm seeing.
No,
between
that's
that
fine.
it's just the way they do the colors. It's like there's no medium range. It's either really dark and gritty. Your suits are always gray, so you don't stand out. Everybody else stands out around you,
right?
But your character stands out instead of your look stands out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he should be Humphrey Bogart, and the people around him should be, Jim Carrey in The Mask or whatever. Everything is, not that we're all geniuses and we don't make mistakes, but everything is certainly purposeful from a visual standpoint. There's a lot of both rain and darkness as well as smoke, which gives you this kind of mysterious aura around you, and then the color when it comes in is very purposeful.
You're venturing more into Arkham this season?
Yes, we are venturing more into Arkham. We're also venturing. I can't say another thing.
Okay,
yes, we're venturing into Arkham. Yes.
Okay.
Arkham becomes a breeding ground for these villains. I mean, the sort of the theme, which I think is very relevant to where we are today in our country, is that by locking these people up and putting them all together, guess what? It not only doesn't rehabilitate them, it actually allows them to work together on the outside if they are able to
get out.
To get out, and it makes them worse. If you put one maniac in close proximity with other maniacs, guess what? They all become worse. They all become even more villainous. So we're having a lot of fun with that, and Arkham is prominently featured.
Also in the season finale, we saw pretty much the full decline of your, I guess, ex-fiance now.
Yeah.
With Barbara. Is there ties to her madness with other villains in season 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Just was wondering because I sensed that she might be palling around with somebody.
Yeah. I think you can.
Not somebody that I think you would prefer her to hang out with, but it seems to go that way.
Yeah. No. She. Yes. She has her share of fun, and I don't think I can. I think I'm giving a huge spoiler away from. In the sense that she's up to no good, and she has some friends to join her on that journey. When you did San Diego Comic-Con and appearances and things like this, is this the role that you're getting recognized most for now? Because I know you had a big fan base from Southland and also the OC, right? When you were on there, are they starting to more come up for Gotham than for the OC?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a mixed bag, but yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing with a series like this is you have to, if any series needs time to kind of catch on, and B, and I completely understand this from the fans' perspective. I think there's a way when you've got these sort of, oh, it's Batman, so it's going to be a hit no matter what. We don't even need to try. People are going to watch regardless. It becomes, people can sort of be distrustful of it. Right. They're like, well, wait a minute. They're trying to sell me this thing. I'm going to experience it as I experience it. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. And so what we needed to get back to was just making a really good show and not trying to satisfy this group or that group or check this box or that. We need to make a really good show, and we are making it. And I'm proud of last season, but this season is, I think it's easily, 30, 40, 50% better. I'm serious. I really think it's kicks.
Just say 100%.
I can't say 100% because to say 100 would be we were at, almost zero before, just to say that we were really.
No, you were at 100% last year. Now you're at 200%.
Exactly.
Where
right,
I'm going.
I have to be realistic with my percentages. I can't do the Yogi Berra stuff.
So this is where, because I looked back and I saw all these nominations and awards you got for being the sexiest man under 25.
Oh, thank you.
Or the Teen Choice Awards.
That's right. That was
hold
last
on,
year.
I have it right here.
That was last year.
You were ranked number 5 in Independent Online's 100 Sexiest Men Alive.
What?
You were hold on, let me read it to you. Twice appeared on Teen People magazine annual 25 sexiest stars under 25.
Thank you very much.
You were also voted one of InStyle's 10 hottest bachelors of the summer.
Oh, please.
And
please,
countless nominations for Teen Choice Awards.
Thank you. I was nominated many times for a Teen Choice Award. I don't believe I ever won one. Very disappointed. Deeply, deeply disappointed.
Well, now with season 2 of Gotham,
Yes.
I'm expecting a Nickelodeon's Kids' Choice Award where you'll go up and accept the blimp and get slimed.
I would love that.
That would be awesome.
I have slimed. I slimed the Olsen twins on the Kids' Choice Awards.
Well, everyone should slime the Olsen twins.
I mean, you know.
But you're going to get slimed, which is a good prediction for you.
I love that.
I'm expecting maybe you're going to jump up on
On
the cover of People
oh, okay.
for the sexiest man alive there.
Oh,
Still
wow.
got time?
Well, you know what? That would just tickle me pink.
It would put you up in great company. You're right up there with, George Clooney, Patrick Swayze, Brad Pitt.
Yes. No one ever heard of them again.
I know.
Well,
But that's still
I'm
great.
not-
That's the best way to end your
Look,
career, isn't it?
I'm not going to hold my breath for that to happen, but if you think it's going to happen, I believe you.
And I'm very comfortable in my sexuality, sir. I can say that. I see these things happening for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Also, real quick, I didn't get a chance to see this, and I was having a hard time finding it because I wanted to watch before you came in. But Johnny Got His Gun is your first independent film.
Yeah. Well, not the first movie independent film I ever made was Junebug.
Sorry, your first starring role.
But the first, and that was a it's based on the Dalton Trumbo novel of the same, and tiny little production. Probably made the whole thing for like $50.
Right.
But
sometimes those are the most entertaining things that you can watch.
It was fun. In the 80s, the book was translated into a one-man play. And it was performed in New York. Jeff Daniels actually performed it, if I'm correct, when he was just starting out in his career. It's one of his big breaks. And so a director approached me about doing this again and filming it in a black box theater without an audience, kind of Spalding Gray style. And so I would have to learn an entire one-man play, hour and a half of straight monologue, and then we would film it over the course of a week. It was just a challenge I couldn't, help but embrace. It was so sort of daunting that I felt like I had to do it. Proud of it. Again, keep in mind we made it $50, but an amazing piece of literature that I did not actually grow up reading in high school, although most people did. And so I came to it for the project, read the book, and felt like it was very sort of resonant in terms of what was happening in the world, and it was good to understand what soldiers go through when they come home.
Well, I haven't, like I said, I haven't found it yet, but I'm going to keep on the hunt for it because I definitely want to see it. I'm running out of time here with you, so 2 quick things before you go, if you could. Number one, so in the season 2 teasers and trailers that we've seen, there's the Riddler, there's the Joker, there's the Penguin. Is there anybody else you can tell us as far as who we'll see as far as the villains go?
Mr. Freeze may make an appearance.
All right.
Firefly may make an appearance.
That's great.
There are a number of other ones that I can't share with you, but I would say that...
So we're not even done. They're just touching the surface on this.
I mean, I would say in this next season alone, I'm going to take a guess, because again, we've only shot about a third of them, I would say. Already, I would guess you're going to have another half dozen to a dozen iconic villains that you have not seen yet in the second season alone.
This is going to be a great Christmas. All these action figures to come out.
Exactly right.
The last thing is Sean Pertwee.
Yes.
Who plays Alfred on the show.
Yes.
I am a huge Doctor Who fan.
Oh, yeah.
So are there people on staff, or do people still come up to him thinking, well, obviously he's not his dad, but like wanting to talk about Doctor Who and about who his dad was?
Yes, I've done a fan convention or two with Sean, and he is constantly.
He put out a photo last Halloween where he was dressed up in his dad's outfit, and people went nuts for it. Yeah,
well, Sean's a great guy. He's become a good friend, and he is very proud of both the Doctor Who and what his father brought to it. Obviously, his father was instrumental in turning Doctor Who into Doctor Who. And so he welcomes it, and it's kind of a great thing. I mean, it's actually it is a little foreign to me. I was aware of Doctor Who, but I hadn't really gotten into it. So now I'm sort of going back and checking it out again.
You need to go back, because I think
there's only like 40 seasons or something.
50 years of the show, Ben. But his father's season
starting.
is actually intact. You can get all his episodes.
Is that right?
if you go back and just watch a handful of them and then watch Sean on set and you go, oh my God, now I know where
Same.
you're getting this from.
Yeah, it's amazing. Right?
Yeah. All right, just something to do.
Okay, all right.
When you have time off and you want to binge watch, check out
Okay.
some Doctor Who if you can. Season 2 of Gotham, it starts Monday, September 21st on Fox, 8 p.m. there. Definitely check it out if you want to binge this weekend. Season 1 for Gotham is out on DVD, Blu-ray, iTunes, Amazon Prime. There's nowhere that you can't get this.
It will be on Netflix starting September 20th.
You don't have that much of a life. Plow through this weekend and be right there on Monday when Season 2 starts. You don't want to miss this, and you're going to want to see everything that's going on. Ben McKenzie, Detective Gordon, or former Detective Gordon, thank you so much for your time, man. Next time you're in town, I'd love to talk to you again.
100%.
All right, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, man.